They told Lucia Zanetti that Florence was paved with ghosts, but she discovered them only when she began sweeping workshop floors. Every afternoon after classes at the Accademia, she crossed the Arno to the Oltrarno district, where small studios still hummed with mallets and rasping files. In exchange for washing brushes or scraping hardened plaster from buckets, the masters let her keep whatever marble chips she collected from the floor. She carried them home in the deep pockets of her corduroy coat, little shards of Carrara that clinked like broken teacups. Inside her rented attic room near Piazza Santa Croce, she arranged them on the windowsill, white against the cool glass, and listened. At first she thought it was tinnitus, an airy hiss that rose after midnight. Then, one rainy night in November, she realized the sound was syllables. Each fragment, no matter how small, released a different breath of words in languages centuries apart. Latin prayers, Florentine dialect, half-remembered verses of Dante. When she pressed a shard against her ear, the voice clarified. Che non son tu intero, non son tu terzo. I am not whole, the chips were lamenting their separation from a larger body, and Lucia, who had grown up fatherless and ridden by homesickness, felt a shiver of kinship. She began labeling each piece in charcoal. Rib, wingtip, fingertip, strand of hair. Identities invented from intuition rather than measurement. Soon her sill overflowed and she commandeered the table, then the floor, until paths of marble islands snaked between her bed and the door. Her friends at the academy teased her, the magpie of Michelangelo, they called her. But one person encouraged the obsession. Professor Matteo Fiore, a stooped, silver-bearded scholar of Renaissance restoration, stopped her after a lecture on lost works. You hear them, don't you? He asked quietly. Lucia's pulse stuttered. Hear what, Professore? Debris, he replied, eyes glinting. History survives in crumbs. Keep listening. So she did. December smelled of chimney smoke. Finals ended. Tourists thinned. On the solstice, a mistral wind rattled her dormer window, and something clicked inside her head. All the voices were variations of the same plea. They wanted reunion, not with their original statues, many of which were pulverized for lime centuries ago, but with one another, to become a body again. Any body. She knelt among them, palms trembling, and began sorting the shards by grain, translucence, and music. When two belonging pieces neared each other, their murmurs harmonized. When she placed a wrong match, discord scraped her nerves like steel on slate. Night after night, she knuckled-kneaded erasers into makeshift wedges, binding fragments with wax and wire, building upward. First a foot, archaic and rugged, then calves sleek as Bronzino's angels, thighs built from muscular high Renaissance offcuts. She embraced stylistic discrepancy, letting Gothic drapery collide with Mannerist torsion, believing that incompatibility was part of the mosaic soul. The work devoured January. She skipped parties, forgot meals. When dawn came, she'd find herself hunched over the armature, marble dust coating her eyelashes like frost. By February, the figure stood headless but towering, nearly life-size. It leaned slightly toward her, as though asking a confidence question. She called it Los Pete the Guest, thinking the name would keep her from feeling proprietary. On the night of San Valentino, she found a piece shaped like a vertebra, so smooth it seemed to bleed moonlight. The moment she slotted it into the neck, the entire construct sighed. The sound dispersed Lucia's fatigue in a bright gush, as if someone had opened a window behind her eyes. She staggered back, took a breath and screamed, not from fear, but pure astonishment, because the statue's chest was rising and falling, minutely, gathering air it could not possibly use. Not whole, it whispered with 100 faint voices braided into one. Lucia pressed her knuckles to her mouth. "What are you?" "Promise," it replied, beginning. Then it moved. White toes curled against the wood plank floor, scraping floury dust. Its unlidded eye cavities, still empty stone wells, swiveled toward Lucia. She felt a jolt like static between them, a recognition older than ancestry. The attic bulb crackled out. Darkness swallowed detail, but she sensed the looming silhouette, the cool exhale of marble against her fevered skin. "Need," the statue murmured. "Need finish." "I'll finish you," Lucia said. It was both vow and surrender. The city outside slept under drizzle while they negotiated what finishing meant. The statue could not walk far without joints crumbling, so Lucia fetched more shards from her boxes, yet each addition seemed to quicken its hunger instead of appeasing it. By dawn it could flex its fingers, by dusk it could turn its neck with a flinty grind. Still, the voices keened, "More! More! More!" Lucia's trove dwindled. Workshops closed for winter holiday. She faced empty pockets and an aching responsibility. The only way to still the chorus was to supply more marble of memory. Freshly quarried stone sat mute. Only fragments seasoned by artistry carried living resonance. The statue required pieces that had already been shaped by a human hand. That Saturday, Lucia visited a former classmate, Pietro, who shared a studio behind Santo Spirito. Pietro was chiseling a block into the loose outline of a dancer. He greeted her warmly. She asked whether she might sweep for scraps. "Of course," he said. "Whatever helps the Zanetti mystery." She filled a sack with curls and chips, but felt the statue tremble when she presented them, like a palate rejecting bland food. "Not enough," it growled. "Seek the spark." She understood then. It craved not just worked marble, but the vital, current breath of the artist, the ineffable residue of intention still clinging to a piece in progress. That knowledge sickened her. She argued with the statue, pleading boundaries, but its reply was a low thunder of overlapping tongues, demanding. "I gave you the shape of life," Lucia said. "I can take it back." "Without us, you are hollow," it retorted. "Complete us, complete yourself." Days passed in deadlock. Mid-March arrived, with wisteria blooming purple along stone walls. Academia reopened after break, assigning students the annual Primavera exhibition. Pietro, Sofia, Conti, and several rising sculptors would unveil their new works at the Bargello courtyard. Lucia had nothing to submit. Her professors whispered that she might forfeit scholarships. Desperation cracked her resolve. One rainy midnight she crept across the river into Pietro's studio. His dancer now possessed an exquisite, outstretched hand, still rough, but unmistakably lyrical. Lucia clutched a wooden mallet, hovering. The decision sliced her chest open. She struck the wrist in a single blow, apologizing aloud as the hand clattered to the floor. She wrapped it in her coat and fled into shadows. The moment she set the fragment onto Lospite's missing forearm, warmth banked in the attic like a furnace lighting, the joint welded without adhesive. New veins of faint rose hue threaded through the marble conglomerate, as though blood had begun a cautious circuit. "Better," the statue said with a softness nearing gratitude. But the next morning, rumors flew. Pietro's dancer toppled overnight, shattering its balance. The sculptor himself awoke with his right hand trembling, incapable of holding a chisel. Doctors blamed nerve compression. Pietro blamed exhaustion. Lucia swallowed shards of guilt and avoided him. The statue kept demanding. Each edition seemed to siphon ability from its originator. Sophia's inlaid Madonna lost the tender curvature of her brow after Lucia claimed the chip that formed it. Sophia slipped into a depression, muttering that her eye was gone. Another student, Marco, watched his bas-relief crumble like wet sugar after Lucia borrowed a single fold of drapery. Lucia's nights turned sleepless. She felt the thefts inside her body talent migrating into stone. During critiques, her sketches received unusual praise. Lines flowed from her pencils as if guided by centuries of masters. She despised the intoxication but could not quit it. The statue's charisma expanded. When it spoke, dust motes swirled obediently. When it gestured, Lucia's muscles mirrored the motion involuntarily. One evening, Professor Fiore knocked on her attic door. She hesitated before unbolting. He stepped in, eyes adjusting to candlelight, and beheld the figure looming, now nearly flawless save for its missing face. "Santa Maria," he whispered. "It's a palimpsest of epochs." The statue inclined its head. "Matteo." Fiore's knees buckled. He grasped a shelf. "You know my name. Your mentor once carved my collarbone." The voice sounded like wet pebbles tumbling in surf. Lucia blurted everything, how the fragments spoke, how the figure awakened, how she fed it. Tears streaked her cheeks, chewing channels through marble dust. Fiore listened without interruption. At last he said, "There are legends of recombined stones. Giorgio Vasari wrote of the twice-born David, a rumor suppressed by the Medici. I thought them allegories. Yet here," he circled the figure, awe mingling with dread, "it is seeking reincarnation through parasitic completion." Lucia flinched. "How do we stop it?" "You finish it, fully," he said. "But then it will be unstoppable." Fiore shook his head. "No. The hunger persists only while incompletion exists. A perfect work is at rest. That's why Michelangelo spoke of releasing figures." He pointed to the featureless face. "One final offering, and the need ends, though at terrible cost." Lucia understood instantly. The statue lacked a visage, and the only piece potent enough would be sculpted in the present moment by an artist fully aware of the trade. A face carved by Lucia herself. Her own. Fiore unrolled a linen bundle containing chisels. "Choose," he said, voice husky. "But know you carve not marble, but destiny." She sat before a mirror, struck charcoal across plaster to outline her profile, memorizing the planes. Fiore lit a brazier for warmth. Embers mottled the ceiling. Outside, bells tolled midnight. Lucien selected a fist-sized blank spot on the statue's head and began cutting, shaping forehead, brow ridge, cheek. She worked from the inside out, imagining nerves, tears, breath. Every strike rang like a church bell. Memories flooded. Her father teaching her to whistle, her mother kneading bread, Pietro holding her elbow at their first fresco visit. She poured them all into stone, dwindling as she gave. Muscles spasmed, fingertips split. At dawn, she stepped back. The face was her own, but older, serene, eyes closed, in sober peace. The statue exhaled a single word, not born of polyphonic echoes, but crisp, solitary voice, complete. Its surface rippled with subtle warmth, and Lucia felt a suction inside her skull, as if thought itself were being inhaled. She swayed. Fiore caught her. The statue opened its eyes, marble irises shot with gold threads, seeing daylight for the first time. "Thank you," it said. "I will remember you." Lucia whispered, "And I will forget." Her tongue felt heavy. The statue smiled tragically. "Equilibrium." A wind node, a column of pressure emanated outward. Shelves rattled, papers skittered. Then silence, the figure petrified again. Utterly inert, the uncanny luminosity faded to the matte hush of aged stone. Lucia touched its wrist, cold as the moon. When she pressed her ear, she heard no heartbeat, no whispers. Only a great, comforting stillness. She collapsed. Weeks later, Primavera unfolded across Florence. Swallows cut ribbons through sky. At the Bargello, the annual exhibition opened. Visitors paused before a new acquisition donated anonymously, a life-size amalgam statue titled ricordanze, notes of memory. Curators debated its origin. Experts found tool marks spanning 5 centuries, impossible yet undeniable. Tourists snapped photos of the face, remarking on its haunting modernity. Lucian attended in a wheelchair, wrists wrapped, lips pale. She felt no pride nor regret, just a hushed neutrality. Her memories were intact but muffled, as if heard through church doors. She watched Pietro, recovered, gesturing animatedly about his rebuilt dancer. "Why?" Sophia laughed. "With colleagues." Her Madonna glowed. Professor Fiore joined Lucia beneath an olive tree in the courtyard. "How do you feel?" he asked. She searched for an answer and found only simple truth. Balanced. He nodded toward Ricordanze. "It asked me to place it here, among works wrought by mortal hands. It wanted witness, not worship." Lucia gazed at her own marble, eyes gazing back. A faint breeze crossed the courtyard, lifting petal confetti from the orange trees. For a heartbeat, she thought she caught a whisper, but it was only the rustle of leaves. Some nights, when Florence lies velvety and the Duomo's dome gleams like the ghost of sunrise, Lucia walks along the Arno. She passes stonemasons, dumping buckets of fresh chips. Sometimes she stops, kneels, and presses a fragment to her ear. The marble remains silent, yet she keeps one small shard in her pocket, just in case forgetting ever feels too complete, and a reminder is needed of how incompletion once taught her the price and the gift of making something whole.